I'm Daphne, and this is your commodities update. Tonight, we're not talking about uranium as a trade. We're talking about uranium as a system constraint. Because uranium, U3O8, isn't priced like oil, copper, or gold. It's priced like insurance. And insurance only matters right before something breaks. This is the uranium map. And the reason this market surprises people every single cycle. Here's the first intellectual mistake almost everyone makes. They think uranium is a commodity. It's not. Uranium is a fuel cycle with embedded political risk, long lead times, and zero short-term elasticity. That alone makes it fundamentally different from almost everything else you trade. Let's walk through why. A nuclear reactor doesn't buy fuel the way a steel mill buys iron ore. It buys multi-year certainty. Utilities contract fuel 5 to 10 years forward, because if a reactor shuts down, you don't lose margins. You lose licenses, regulators, and careers. That single fact explains most uranium price behavior. Now zoom out. For nearly 2 decades, the uranium industry was run below replacement cost. After Fukushima, utilities lived off inventories. Governments sold stockpiles. Producers shut mines. Exploration capital evaporated. This wasn't underinvestment, it was intentional starvation. And starvation always feels fine right up until demand normalizes. Here's the structural issue most people miss. Uranium supply doesn't respond to price on market timelines. A new copper mine might take 7 to 10 years. A uranium mine often takes longer because it has radiation regulation, water table scrutiny, national security oversight, geopolitical constraints. By the time price signals show up, the shortage is already baked in. That's why uranium cycles don't resolve smoothly. They resolve late. So let's map the system. There are 3 layers, not because it's neat, but because stress propagates through them sequentially. Layer 1, producers. Producers don't chase spot prices. They manage contract books. Their leverage comes from the spread between legacy contracts and new replacement pricing. When uranium reprices, producers don't explode upward. They quietly become structurally cash flow positive. This is the stability layer. It moves first, but it doesn't scream. Layer 2, developers. This is where intellectual rigor matters. Most uranium developers are not supply. They are options on permitting, politics, and capital discipline. Grade alone is meaningless without jurisdictional trust, water access, ISR recovery certainty. Construction realism, developers only revalue when utilities realize future contracted supply cannot be met by existing producers. That realization always comes late, and when it does, capital floods selectively, not evenly. This layer creates volatility, not volume. Layer 3, the fuel cycle, the part almost nobody models. This is where the real wow is. U3O8 is not reactor fuel. It must be converted, enriched, fabricated, and those steps are far more concentrated than mining. Enrichment capacity is limited, conversion capacity is fragile, and advanced reactors increasingly want HALEU, which is neither abundant nor easily scalable. This means the next uranium bottleneck may not be mining at all. It may be fuel processing sovereignty. That's a completely different investment thesis, and one markets are barely pricing. Now let's talk about SMRs and microreactors. Properly, they are not the future replacing nuclear. They are load-matching tools for grids under stress, data centers, military infrastructure, remote industrial sites. They don't eliminate large reactors. They layer additional demand onto an already tight fuel system. And critically, many of them change fuel specifications, not volumes. That creates qualitative scarcity, not just quantitative scarcity. That's new. Now, for the behavioral insight most investors never internalize. Utilities don't behave rationally under stress. They behave conservatively. When uncertainty appears, they overcontract, shorten decision cycles, accept higher prices, prioritize jurisdictional safety. This causes uranium markets to move in steps, not trends. Quiet, ignored. Sudden repricing, every cycle. So here's the real intellectual takeaway. Uranium isn't bullish because demand is growing. It's bullish because supply is slow. Fuel chains are rigid. Geopolitics fragment markets, and utilities panic late. That combination creates nonlinear price behavior, not rallies. Revaluations. This episode was the map. The next layer is the survival logic: who survives at replacement pricing, who breaks at regulatory friction, who controls fuel when enrichment becomes political. That's not speculation, that's system design. Because when uranium finally behaves like a constrained fuel market, it doesn't trend. It reprices reality, and reality doesn't ask permission.